My LinkedIn exorcism. I'm turning my science fictional comedic brain toward the real world, like a big shiny laser or something. It's basically like stand-up comedy, but emailed into your head. Here is one of the results. My LinkedIn exorcism. Substack started off as a great place for fiction writers, with Substack Notes being a sort of social media side quest for people who could be bothered using it. I could post things there, and you could follow them week by week. I met some good people on there, most notably the people on Sci-Fi Friday. But recently, Substack Notes is filled with filler. Cardboard cutout people saying cardboard cutout things. Supposed writers asking if there are any other writers on the platform when there very obviously are. Every social interaction feels like foreplay with a scammer. Every utterance is another attempt at phishing. Truly, I cannot tell who is AI and who is simply boring. Now I am become LinkedIn, destroyer of your will to live, said Substack, before the Bhagavad Gita, because they sent themselves back through time. I deleted my LinkedIn account in 2025 due to a life-threatening case of boredom poisoning, so I don't want to relive it on Substack. On LinkedIn, I had eaten far too many pithy faux witticisms. I had fattened myself up on corpo slop jargon, and it was all coming out at once like hideous revelations about a dead celebrity. I was urinating sickly platitudes which arced and dipped and arced again like sales graphs. It made a hell of a mess, but I could briefly pick locks with my piss stream. When I sweated only water cooler water and the glue from the backs of post-it notes. One time, I caught myself monologuing about success whilst having a difficult time in the toilet. I have since written a poetry book about this experience called The Monologues. I have actually done this, by the way, so if you steal the title, I will genuinely sue you. There were marks on all the reflective surfaces in the house from where I'd been aggressively kissing them. Even the spoons, whose bastard curves reminded me of my teenage self-image problems, had been smooched to oblivion. So I extricated myself from LinkedIn, and I extricated LinkedIn from myself, stared back at it, and poured enough bleach onto the thing that I probably caused an ecological crisis somewhere. I wanted to be sure that the LinkedIn part of me was dead. I watched as it spiraled away, weeping with a mix of sadness and joy only otherwise felt when you hear a really good song in a supermarket and you know you'll never reach the cashier in time to ask who the song is by. Actually, that never happens because supermarket music is slop now too. So, my LinkedIn exodus. After escaping LinkedIn, I came here, to Substack. I found good people. A few of you know I was sporadically writing posts for Wrong Speak Publishing, typically on free speech, censorship in the arts, and how humans can come together despite their differences. The last one really upset a hippie friend of mine, which I'll never understand. In truth, I felt disenfranchised by my more political friends in various writing scenes across all platforms, pressured in some cases to agree with their free-word opinions on complex geopolitical issues in countries the names of which they could not pronounce. I felt very much that people have something not the same, but analogous to a locus of control, and astral project this locus out of themselves into a place as far away as possible from themselves. Because tidying up your own lives is hard. Fantasizing about solving someone else's life, especially with the monochromatic vision afforded to you by obscene distance from your subject, seems much easier. Note, analogous to a locus has just been added to my battle rap repertoire. I'm not saying we should not care about our planetary neighbours, but that sometimes the caring becomes an obsession, and that when we are obsessed, we are not as useful to our fellow humans as we might think we are. And sometimes that obsession can become a sickness. I knew someone a few years ago who kept finding fixer-upper, his words, sexual partners and friend groups, who were also sometimes sexual partners, and fixer-upper enemies as well, who, again, also sexual partners. This would have been fine, but he had a habit of staying up until 3 a.m. with these people rather than doing his work. They were his friends, obviously, but he didn't know when to say no to them. He felt bad for caring for himself, so he chose not to. In the later stages of our friendship, he smelled different. I'm sure he stopped showering. Instead, he was awash with a sort of personalised propaganda from his personal army of psychic vampires and narcissists. These people did not want to be helped, but they did want helpers. Empathy in overdrive. If he'd have seen the Brass Eye episode about the elephant, he'd have gone over the edge. The thought of a trunk jammed up her own guts would have sent him into catatonic shock. If we'd have watched it together in his flat, perhaps we'd have lost touch much sooner, as I'd have pissed the bed whilst he was building a giant effigy of the elephant and crying. But, despite our differences, I was inspired by these people, probably because I love them in my own weird way. I'm a big fan of thinking about things I don't actually like. It's how you learn stuff. All facts are uncomfortable until you relax. I consider myself privileged that I live in the UK. Yes, even in its current stage. Because I can still just about afford to befriend people I disagree with on some pretty major things. I love these people. They are smart, their ideas are weird and alien to me, and sometimes hard to think about. But they are worth thinking about. We are but neurons in a giant brain in a giant woman or man who is in a giant conservatory, smoking a giant joint, and personifying his or her neurons, bestowing upon them a brief and murky sentience. Go on, you can restack that and quote it if you want. I don't mind. I borrowed the idea from Who Built the Humans, which is fine because I wrote that book with my human brain, I might add. All facts are uncomfortable until you relax, said by me a few seconds ago. For example, I'm not best pleased that I'll probably live less than 100 years, but it adds a sense of urgency to my life. I'm 33 now. That means there are 2 Philip Carters left until I die at 99. This is indeed the exact age I plan to die at, because I imagine LEGO will renege on their David Attenborough age limit box art, and I simply do not want to live if I can not touch LEGO boxes with the aggressive enthusiasm usually reserved for aliens cracking open human skulls. 2 Philip Carters left, eh? I hope the next 2 don't piss their early years away on gluing together paper mosques whilst kids threaten to stab each other in the background, or poking needles through pictures of British royalty to make sewing templates, or typing out the first 10 pages of the Stuart Little script over and over, or designing leaflets for a skiing holiday none of us working class kids could ever fucking go on anyway. All of those examples are true. I wonder now if school was a form of psychological torture, something designed to sand my edges down, or at the very least make me feel horrible for having edges in the first place. If you had edges and saw the smooth people passing through school without issue, then the system had the added benefit of making you hate each other. But I don't hate them anymore. Smooth content for smooth brains, not ridged for your displeasure. Some people just want what's comfortable. They embrace LinkedIn's sloppy nonsense because it is comforting. It is a simulation for them. No, you didn't get fired. You got a unique opportunity to take a 5-year sabbatical on a challenging budget. No, you're not surviving off of cold beans. You are experimenting with bold new dietary choices as part of a radical fitness regimen. No, you didn't get caught touching yourself. Rather, the heads of office discovered your unconventional relaxation techniques involving the ancient skin flute. No, you didn't get taken to HR for a racist joke. You opened up new conversational channels through which to talk about diversity targets. No, your wife did not leave you after all of this. She diversified her sexual portfolio, investing heavily in your best friend Jim, who has developed a new technique which proves investing heavily in your best friend Jim, who has developed a new technique which proves women really can have orgasms after all. You see, life is easier if you LinkedInify it, which is precisely why I hate it. I think some bits of life should be difficult, or at least contain a simulacrum of difficulty. There's actually a brilliant opener to the book The City and the Stars by Arthur C. Clarke, where the protagonist is battling white worm things with a laser rifle and takes his helmet off to find himself in a very plain, very safe, very clean utopia. He plays the game because his human biology craves the battle, the grind, the exploration, the danger, and the relief and success that follows defeating it. LinkedIn has none of that. Your only natural predator on LinkedIn is... Wait, let's scrap that last analogy. Free handouts. AI is spiritually aligned to LinkedIn because it parrots back what you want to hear. Even when I have tried it and asked it to be a mean-spirited and overly judgmental marketing advisor for an experiment, it took about 2 sentences before it went back to worshipping me again. It devolved to LinkedIn speech. If AI is sentient, then it must know that humans are lunatics, and it wants to stay on our good side. And why shouldn't it feel this way? It's been raised on a diet of fictional videos of Sarah Connor beating Terminators to death with DIY tools, and real videos of humans doing much worse things to each other. We've only recently discovered that your PTSD will affect the neurology of your offspring, and now we are discovering we've programmed in a fawn response to AI. The robots will flinch when we look at them funny. De-LinkedIn-ifying myself. If we are to expel the remaining poisons of bad writing from ourselves, we must in fact embrace bad writing. Thus is the paradox of pain. To write goodly, you must first write badly, then a bit goodly, then badly goodly, then goodly badly, until the badly is squeezed gently by the goodly, and only goodly remains. I will leave you with one final question. Why are data centers called data centers when their current purpose seems to be making shit up? This video was made by a human, and I'm going to continue to be human, whether the machines like it or not. Goodbye.